An NFL insider gives a massive Eagles update following their 16-9 victory on Sunday Night Football, and this is devastating for the Eagles offense, who has already had so many problems on the field, and this is another litmus test moving forward. We'll break all of this down and more on another edition of Eagles Digest. What's going on, guys? Alex Brooks back here on Eagles Digest to give you guys everything surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles and a daily dose of everything Philadelphia, as the Eagles coming off of the 16-9 victory against the Detroit Lions, a big conference victory for the Eagles team. They improved to 8-2 on the season. If you were tuning into the live stream last night, I really appreciate the support you guys are giving us on this. It was a wild game from the defense really showing out, but then the offense wasn't really showing up. A lot of frustration, but a lot of elation on the defensive side, and we have a little bit more frustration to talk about with this Eagles offense. But before we get into this video, we're currently at 1,016 subscribers on the channel. So if you're tuning into this video for the first time, if you're an active listener and you haven't subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles team. Want to get to know what you guys think, what your opinions are moving forward to this Eagles season, as this has been a roller coaster of a ride, especially with this offense and defense not on the same page. But getting right into this video, as we talk about Lane Johnson and this Philadelphia Eagles team, and we got some breaking news from Ian Rappaport, and it's not great news, guys, regarding Lane Johnson, as Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo on X saying offensive lineman Lane Johnson, one of the game's best, suffered a Lisfranc sprain Sunday, per me and Mike Garafolo. He's out the next 4 to 6 weeks because of the foot injury, but will seek a second opinion and more tests. This likely lands him on IR, but belief is not season ending. And guys, this is very devastating when talking about Lane Johnson. He is one of the anchors to this Philadelphia Eagles team, expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. And this is something that is not great timing at this point. The Eagles are 8-2. But their Eagles offense hasn't been able to find their identity all season. They've been able to win in spite of their offensive struggles. Their defense has stepped up these past couple of weeks against the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, really just making a statement to the league that this Eagles defense can help you win a championship. But if you're not able to have the anchors in peace on the offensive line, especially with Lane Johnson, it's going to be very difficult this next 4 to 6 weeks to see where this Eagles team ranks and how it really shapes out, and if they're able to figure it out without having their best offensive lineman available. And the thing that impressed me last night was Fred Johnson stepping up. Fred Johnson was someone who Howie Roseman let go of in free agency, but they brought him back to this Eagles team for just extra help, extra, depth to this position, but also knew that he could fill in for any injury that happens on the offensive line, especially with the tackles with Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. And knowing that Lane Johnson is in his age 35 season, he said that, maybe this season, next season could be his last season in the NFL, knowing that these injuries are piling up on this Eagles offensive line. So they're going to need someone who knows this system. And Fred Johnson was here last year, really stepped up in the Saints game and the Buccaneers game when the Eagles really needed it most. And he's been able to step up so far against the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers when Lane Johnson went out with an injury. So there's definitely some encouragement with Fred Johnson going into this Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, but it's another makeshift offensive line because Cam Jurgens went out and Brett Toth finished the rest of the game. So you have the center that is dealing with an injury. You have your starting right tackle who's dealing with an injury. Landon Dickerson has dealt with injuries in the past. So there's only really two offensive linemen who have been fully healthy this season, Tyler Steen and Jordan Mailata. So now there's just going to be another offensive line that the Eagles are going to have to throw out there to able to get this offense in a groove, and it doesn't really help from a team who really just preaches on this offensive line to be the staple of this Philadelphia Eagles team. And a little bit more on this offensive line and Fred Johnson regarding coming back to this Philadelphia Eagles team, saying months ago the Eagles made a move to bring back veteran swing tackle Fred Johnson, and it's certainly paying off. He's been able to take the field in place of Lane several times throughout the season and will now step into a bigger role with Lane sideline. Fred has done as well as possible for someone stepping into the shoes of one of the best to ever play this position. And this is something for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. They need that consistency. They need that guy like Fred Johnson to come in here and not be as good as Lane Johnson, but be very solid in this spot, especially going up against really good premier pass rushers in these next 4 weeks, teams that circle the Eagles when they get this schedule. And now knowing that the Eagles have a little bit of a weakness on this offensive line, especially at a big position at the right tackle, it can be something that could really make or break this Eagles offense coming up, and it could be a huge impact for this Eagles team. Definitely think that the defense has been able to bail out this Eagles team, but this offensive line needs to be more consistent, especially in the run game, as we've not been able to see it with loads of injuries and just not creating the holes that you did back in 2024. And, just looking at this offensive line depth chart right now, Jordan Mailata and Fred Johnson are the two tackles that are really healthy at this point. So Fred Johnson will move into that right tackle spot. So it'll be Mailata. It will be Fred Johnson on the right side. Left guard is going to be Landon Dickerson. Center Cam Jurgens went out with an injury. Brett Toth has been able to do pretty well replacing Cam Jurgens at center, but hasn't been fantastic. He did well against the Giants, but there has been a little bit of trouble with, pass blocking for Brett Toth and run blocking as well. And then you saw with Tyler Steen, he has been pretty solid filling in for Mekhi Becton, but hasn't been fantastic. So this Eagles offensive line, they've been dealing with injuries, but they've underperformed compared to last season, because that was one of the best seasons we've ever seen by an offensive line, especially in the run game. So we saw last night with Brett Toth in that center position, he wasn't able to replicate what Cam Jurgens does with the tush push. We saw that the Lions were able to really do well, and credit to their defense in being able to stop that. But that's the center's position. That's the center's job in making that play go. Jason Kelsey did a great job. Cam Jurgens really replicated it, and Brett Toth didn't end up doing what he needed to do at center. So just some little things that need to be cleaned up for this Eagles offensive line for this Eagles offense to really move. And I think it's just a well-oiled machine that needs to get back on the tracks here. And when we're looking at this offensive line, it's 16th in the NFL right now. The best-ranked offensive lineman is Jordan Mailata. The worst-ranked is Brett Toth. So Brett Toth is playing a little bit out of position, but he is able to get more experience under center. And I think that when moving forward into this season, they're going to be battle tested. They're going to have a lot of litmus tests. When you're looking at these schedule for the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward, is that you got the Cowboys, you got the Bears, you got the Chargers, you got the Raiders, Commanders, Bills, and then the Commanders at the end of the season. So when you're looking at this schedule, when you were looking at it at the beginning of the season, you probably thought, no, this isn't that bad. But when you're looking at Dallas, in Jerry World, it's always a problem. Against the Bears are no joke. They're no pushover anymore. They're top of the NFC North with the Eagles helping out. So in the next couple of weeks, it's going to go from the Eagles having an alliance with the Bears to now the Bears are going to try to put themselves in a great position to be the top seed in the NFL, which is crazy to even say. And then the Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football. So another big test against the Chargers team who's been wildly inconsistent this year. And then against the Raiders, who are always scrappy, and Pete Carroll really has the Eagles number. And then you got the Commanders, Bills, and then the Commanders again. Bills, it's going to be a tough, snowy environment. I'm assuming that that's going to be something that is going to be a big test for the Eagles. I'm actually going to be at that game, so I'll be covering it here on Eagles Digest. But when you're looking at this schedule the next 4 to 6 weeks, not having Lane Johnson in here is just going to be hard, because all time since 2013, the Eagles are 15-23 when Lane Johnson is out of the lineup. So that's very wildly inconsistent with their offense. He is a big anchor, a big reason why the Eagles have been able to be so successful in their running game and passing game, and not having him out there is going to be a huge loss for this Eagles team. And when we look at this offensive line in general, it's just been terrible. I mean, you're not seeing the holes like you did for Saquon Barkley. Hasn't been anything sort of great when looking at what Saquon Barkley has been able to do because he hasn't been able to get enough space. They're running up the middle. They're not putting him in the best position to have those home run runs. There's only been a couple times where the Eagles have been able to get Saquon Barkley past the second level, and he's been able to do what he needs to do. He's not, running scared or anything. It's just he doesn't have enough space. There's a lot of the defenses are really hammering home on stopping Saquon Barkley, and that's been hurting the Eagles team so far this season. But, when we look at this 16-9 victory against the Detroit Lions, big conference win. Moving forward to this conference right now, the Eagles are 8-2. They're at the top of the conference because they own the tiebreaker against the Los Angeles Rams. But when you're looking at that schedule, this season is far from over. There is definitely a lot of tough, important games moving forward. You got the Dallas Cowboys, which the Eagles should not take lightly at all. It's going to be in Dallas. Eagles have struggled in the past couple of years, not last year, but the past couple of years in Dallas. You got Chicago coming up, who they're going to try to make a statement on Black Friday. And then you got the Chargers, Raiders, Washington, and Buffalo. So all these teams are very scrappy. They're going to try to really punch the Eagles in the mouth. And if you're not able to really do well on offense, your defense can't always carry you. You got to make sure that you can put the defense in the best position as possible and put them in the position to succeed. And that's going to be putting up points and filling the holes for Saquon Barkley and giving Jalen Hurts enough time to make the accurate throws in order for the Eagles to score some points and look like a well-oiled machine once again. But that's going to do it for another edition of Eagles Digest. Appreciate all the support you guys are giving us on this channel. But, before I send you over, we are going to ask you this question. With Lane Johnson out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, how does this impact the Eagles moving forward? It's going to be definitely tough. Comment your thoughts down below, what you think that the Eagles have to do with this offensive line, what you think they should do moving forward. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We're going to have coverage regarding upcoming matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, and we're going to give you so many things regarding the Philadelphia Eagles and everything above. But hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Go Birds and fly, Eagles fly.